We're back on board.
Right,
Go.
so we've closed it up. We've closed up the die set. I'm going to take off this clamp and roll the die set over and tap it apart like we did before. Like that. Go there. And now this time, when I knock this apart, Chris, I'm knocking the die set apart, but it's also going to it's going to leave the crankshaft on here, and the die set will come off, but the crank will stay there.
Cool.
See the crank is staying there?
Yep.
That's what it's supposed to do. The intention when I built this press was to connect this to that so I could yank it up again with the press, but I never have. And presses are good, but they don't have much feel to them, you know. So there you go. It goes over there, and put that down. And there, we're going to take that bolt out. We've got our crank. We're going to take that bolt out, pull the crank out, and then we're going to do what we talked about doing and truing the crank, which we may or may not fit into this episode or not. Might run out of time, but we'll definitely set it up and show people how it works and the function of it and how. Pull that out of there. There's your crank. And you know that it's not going to be broached, what we call broached, which is what I was talking about with a pin going in and wrecking the crankshaft. Basically, all your shimming's right, the width will be right. We will check it, and it'll be reasonably true, but there's certainly an art to truing them. It'll be reasonably true, and when I say true, the main bearings are here. So those two bearings has to run in line, and these ends have to run true because they do spring, and these ends will wobble, and you need to. I'll show you on this other test jig here. You'll be able to see. I can probably
go around.
do it from there. Yeah.
Yep.
We'll show you. So I'm going to put the crank in our truing jig, which is there, and that's actually not bad. That crank is running reasonably true, considering that it's come straight out of the. I mean, you can see that's running out. See, that one's not running quite so bad, but that'll true up, no problem. So what we're going to do is. To true the crank, we can hold this wheel and get this side to go like that or like that, and that will affect the way that these line up. So this crank is what I show people what we do and how to do it. So this is identical setup to this, and sitting on two blocks, but these are on bearings. So like I said, if we hold this side and move this on the pin, this will move this way or that way, and this will move the opposite. And that's what, when you're truing the crank, that's what you have to do. So if you, like I said, hold this side and you move this on the pin, which this is not a tight fit, it's slide fit. If you move that, see that there, Chris?
Yep.
So I'm going to move that on the pin, and see how the crank moves this way. That one goes that way, and this one comes this way. And if I go like that, opposite. Yep. And if I hold this one and move this, other way. So that way. So you've got the option of moving it this way, that way, or this way and that way. Now basically do the same thing, but you can get a different result. You can get a different result if one side is running out and the other's not, you need to know which side to move, because there is a side you need to move to make that side run true. If you use the other side, it'll move the crank okay, but it won't make it run true with the other side. It'll actually make the other side run out. So it's actually quite simple if you draw it on a bit of paper. It's nothing really high tech about it. You just got to understand it, and you've got to understand what axis you're moving and what axis you're measuring and what the ends of the crank are doing in relationship to the main bearings, and vice versa, the main bearings in relationship to the ends of the crank. And so what I'm explaining is to true the crank in this plane. So we're talking about this plane. There is this plane as well. All right?
Yep.
You can move this plane as far as you like. Obviously, you're never going to move it like that, but you can move that as far as you like. So that is infinitely variable, and you can get that absolutely perfect. What you can't do is when the crank is like in this position, you can't move this wheel up and down like that, and you can't move that one up and down because that's the pin and that's the bore and that's it, it's fixed. So you would think that the crank would be in this plane, would be bang on from the start. It never is. And the reason it never is because when you press the crank together, with this jig, it's reasonably good. In fact, often it's perfect. But if you're doing it without one of those jigs, you've got to be careful, but inevitably this face and this face will not be parallel to each other, and they can need to go, then you'll need to squeeze the crank in or out. So if you squeeze that in, they would go down. If you squeeze that out, they would come up. So you can move it in this plane, but you don't move it. You're actually moving the crank web on the pin. So and in actual fact, I always check that plane first and try and get that reasonable, it doesn't have to be perfect, before I try and move this plane. Because, righto, we'll give it, how's our time looking? We don't want to...
no, we're sort of...
People might be wanting to go have a beer or something.
45 minutes in.
I know, I do.
Well, we're going down the pub for dinner, aren't we?
We are going to have a pub, yeah.
So, let's
of course,
get it on.
It's your shout. Oh, you got to get paid first.
Piss off.
You're going to get paid.
You're as funny as a shark attack.
You don't get paid, do you?
That's right.
Ron told me not to pay you.
Did he?
Yeah, so he said, don't pay that. Dude. Not worth it.
It's something he would say, actually.
He did?
Yeah.
He said, I hope you're not paying.
So, hello to my good mate, Ron Young, here on the phone. On the video. He's a good bloke. He's very misunderstood.
Oh, I understand him perfectly.
Yeah?
Yeah. Baseball bat. Around the back of the head, no problem.
No, he's a good bloke.
Yeah, he's a good bloke in his right place.
Is this like Ducati?
Yeah.
What would you call it? Don't talk to me about Ducatis. I know Ducatis.
Yeah. Don't talk to me about Ducatis. Righto. So I'm going to turn this crank so it's in this plane, and I'm going to set that at 0 on that side, and I'm going to set it at 0 on that side. And I'm not going to worry about the other plane at all. So I don't care what the dials are doing on this plane. I'm going to turn it 180 degrees. Then I'm going to look at it. And that one, Chris, is 0. So it's 0 there, and if you turn it there, 0 there.
Right.
So that one is somewhere near right. This one, 0 here, and that is, it's going +5. So that means that this crank is going like that, all right? So it needs to be jacked that way.
Right.
All right, so I made this up many years ago.
When you say 5,
That's 5 thou.
it's 5 thou. Right.
So it needs to move 5
Just
thou
for
that
your
way.
viewers at home.
Yep.
Not
yep.
0.5 of a mil or something like
that. 05. 5 thou?
Yeah, we had this.
Yes, I know.
Yeah.
5 thou?
5 thousandths of an inch.
5 thou? Yeah. No, it's a bit more than that. But call it 5. So
It's late in the day and we're not thinking sharp.
yeah, it is. Right, so we're going to open this tap. We're going to close that tap. And this is a hydraulic piston. It's got a hydraulic piston in here. And this is just an inner pack pump. And I made this, it's got a swivel on it, so it'll swivel. And I can jack the crank apart. So I need to go in a bit with that. So that's pushing the piston in. So I'm going to jack that apart. Righto, so I'll just bring this, pump this up. Got to undo that. No, I don't, I need to do it up. This is the one I have to undo, always get that wrong. Righto, so we're going to put that opposite the pin and we're going to pump it up and there it goes, it's just grabbed. So if you look at this clock,
Yep.
if you look at that clock, when I pump this, see this clock move?
Yep.
So that clock is going that way, it's going down. So that crankshaft is going that way. So I'm bending that on the pin.
Yep.
Which is, I know it sounds crazy, but that's what you do.
And you've got to go a bit over this.
Well, yeah, I'm not,
spring back.
and I'm not going to worry too much about getting this right, because when we start going in the other plane,
Yep.
that'll move. But I just, I just sort of do that between. I just sort of do that. See, that's hardly moved. That's hardly moved.
It's hardly moved it.
Yeah, it's hardly moved it. So, moved it 1,000 or something. So, I'll give it a bit more.
Just crank it up.
Crank it up. It's good spreader. You know?
What is it?
It's a spreader.
All right.
Very, very handy. Righto, so that's come with that. That's moved it to within a couple of thou.
What is the factory state?
Oh,
Is the tolerance
they say, I think.
4 or 5 thou? Maybe?
No. Let's talk metric.
Okay.
02, 03, which is like a thou.
Okay. Right.
Right, basically.
Yep.
And I mean, man, it's a bit of a funny thing, because I've seen cranks come out of engines so far out of true, and this is truing, not balancing. I mean, I've seen them 0.5 out, and I'd say to the guys, "What's it feel like? Does it vibrate?" No, it's all right. So like, I'm sure I'd feel it if I rode it, but I mean, they do. It doesn't always matter. Well, it does matter, because the engine won't last as long, but certainly, you wouldn't put one together with 20 thou or 0.5 out. But I'm just saying that I've seen them like that, and I've asked the customer, and they said, "Oh no, they can't feel a thing." So, no, a bit strange. Anyway, we're going to set again this in this plane at top dead center, center and 0, and we're going to go. So that one. So I'm turning it to there. This shaft is coming negative. That's going negative, so it's going that way. Right. So this wants to come this way. And this one is going, that's going negative, so this has got to come that way. So in actual fact, they both want to come that way. If I go there, that's pretty close. So is that. So is that. That's positive. That's going positive. That's going positive there and negative there. And that's going negative there, positive there. So that's positive, negative. So this crank wants to come this way. This wants to come
On that
way.
end.
Wants to go that way.
Yep.
So if we look at this crank, we want, it's set exactly the same TDC. This wants to come this way. So if we bang this crank on this here, we hold this and we go there, it's going to go that way. That's the wrong way. So if we hold it, if we bang it on this side of this wheel, hold this crank, it'll go that way.
Go back.
All right?
Yep.
So if we hold this one, anyhow, dong this one, and go on this side, it'll come this way. And that's the way that's why I'm going to do it. If I held this one and hit it there, it would go the other way.
Right.
So I want to hit this crank here.
Okay.
So just hitting the crank, you're using the inertia of the weight, the inertia in the weight of the crank to bang the bit that you want to move this way or that way on this aluminium block, which is sitting on the concrete, and that shocks the crank to go and move like that. So, and you know,
Which is common practice, you see it.
well, that's how you true a crank. So that's how that's been done like that for years. So you might jag it first time, but it usually won't.
Get it back here a bit.
Too tight anyway. So I can tell by the noise it makes if it's moving or not moving or whatever. That's probably moved a bit, I think. But the way I'm holding the crank, I'm holding it here, I'm holding it here, and I'm holding the rods, and then I'm actually letting it go when it hits there. I'm not holding on to it. It may not look like it, but I am. And then I'm going to just see what it's doing. And how's their time, Chris?
Yeah, we're like 50 minutes in or whatever.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, well that's better. That's moved it to 3,000. It's better by 3,000 now. So that's positive. Oh yeah, that's good. That's negative. That's positive. That's good. So that's coming this way, and this is going this way. So that's going. No, it's going that way. That's going that way, and this one is going this way. So it's going, at the moment it's going that way, and we want it to come this way. So we could hit it on here, I think, and that would, I think we'll give it a belt on the other side on there and just see what happens. So I'm going to hold it the other way, like that. Hold it there, and wasn't a good one. Well, I didn't move it, I didn't know that. Alright, let's try that.
You wouldn't want to get your fingers in there, would you?
No, you wouldn't want to get your fingers in there. That's for sure. No, I've gone too far. So, I'm going to go there, 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 there. That's actually still okay that way. Oh, well, interesting. Right, so we're going to go, I want this to go back. It's got to go, it's going, it wants to go that way, which is, I think, that one. And yeah, that's right. So I might use the other wheel, I think. So that's minus that one. And that is plus this one. So that's come plus. So we want it to go back that way. So we go on that one. I'll go on this one. See what happens. They do move, like they'll move overnight. So I often leave them when you get them somewhere near. I leave them, do them finishing next day or whatever. Which is what I'm gonna do with this one.
How would they do that?
Oh, I think like it's the same as stress relieving in the metal, and you know, like you know, it's got all that, you know, you put all that lubricant on the pin and it's like under tension and it might come back a bit, you know.
Okay.
So, you know, it's, yeah, the fairies don't come in and dong it, if that's what you mean.
Yeah, I was wondering about that.
Yeah.
Well, there's
We
plenty
do
of
have
little,
a lot of problem with LGM here.
little green men.
Little green men.
Yeah.
You got no idea. They come in overnight, they break things, hide things, lose things, smash things. Unbelievable. Never seen one in my life, but mate, they're here. LGM. Yes, amazing.
How close is it now?
Oh, it's 5,000 on that end, but it's better on this, miles better on this end. It's within 2,000. Anyway, it's still pretty good that way. So it's minus.
I mean, to do something like this at home, it's a pretty big sort of, you know, you got to have all the right gear, but besides the knowledge, but I don't think there's that many people doing
Cranks.
bevel cranks anymore, is there? Like we talked about Ron Young. Ron does it over there.
Ron does them, that's for sure.
Yep.
You know, and he does a good job.
Does a good job. And I know he does cranks for a lot of other people, like
I think he
like
does.
trade customers.
Yeah. I think he does other engines as well. I don't do other engines. I don't know whether he does or not.
No,
Like,
not really.
You know, there was a guy in Perth who did a lot of work for me, and I mean, he just did anything and everything. He did all your two-stroke cranks, and but see, even you know, people like Honda who still use press-up cranks on all their dirt bikes and all that sort of stuff. Mate, you can't buy rods and stuff for it. If you order a big end, you get the crank all built up. I mean, none of this caper. So that's sort of. I guess it got too hard for them, you know, and it got too hard to find people that could do it. So, you know, it's righto. So we'll give it another belt, and we'll go to the pub. And maybe the LGMs will come in and true it up overnight.
Maybe.
I haven't seen it before. But
Well, we've got a frog coming down.
we have got a frog coming
So
down.
he's green.
His bike's over there.
His bike's over there. Yeah,
That's
it's
definitely
green.
That's right. We do have a frog coming down.
He's just going to come down and waste all our time. But he's a good bloke, so that's okay.
Alright, it's going to go that way. And it's going to go that way. It's going to go that way. So we're going to go like that. We're going to go that way. That way. That way. That way. Righto. So, no, we're not. That's wrong. No, that's... So what I did then was I had this at bottom dead centre. I had the crank at the bottom, that one at the top, and I'm looking at it upside down. So this will be the opposite to what I just thought. That's gone plus. It's gone plus there, and this one has gone minus there. So this one's gone minus. So it's going that way, so it's got to come this way.
Well, this is a bit of a good example too of why a crank like this costs what it does.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's a lot of things. It takes. And they are funny things to do. Like sometimes they talk about hard cranks and soft cranks. This is a hard crank, and not because it's hard to do, but it's. You know, obviously it went together, it was pretty tight. If it was a soft crank, the pin would have gone in a bit easier and they move easier, whereas a hard crank is harder to move because it's got more interference and whatever. Yeah, that's amazing. That's moving. That's moving quite a bit. So we'll go, yep, that moved 3,000. And this one is going to be, that's there. Let's see, it's coming. So that's plus. That's minus there, so it's going that way. So this one has to come towards us. So it's going to have to go on that one. It's going to have to go that one there. And we're there. Try there, I think. See what happens. That's a good one.
That sounds like it moved.
Yeah. It's funny, you wouldn't think you could notice the difference, but you can. Yep, that's much better. That's much better. Let's pass. Now I can go a bit more. It's minus. So it's got to come that way again. We went on that one last time. Shit, that's the bloody thing. No, there. Okay, so let's go that way. I want to go that way. Shit, I might try the other side, I think. Yeah, this side is a lot better than it was. That's the best it's been by a long way. That's within about 2.5 there on that side.
Okay.
Which is, and this one's still not loving us. So that is moving plus. That way, which is which way is the way I was hitting it. So that is the way I was hitting it. So righto. Righto, that's going to do to the more. It's definitely getting there. Okay, a bit more, I reckon. That's within 2 thou still, that's good. And it's still minus, plus, minus, okay, well, it's definitely, that's the way it wants to go. That's the best we've had it, Chris.
Okay.
Put another couple on there. And have a rest, I think. Ooh, that's good.
Righto.
That's within a couple of thou both ends. We'll sort that out in the morning. And it wants jack with this, and jack with that, and it might even be good enough.
Well, that's probably it for the night. You can sign off.
Customer will be happy. If we got to send his crank, he'll be wrapped.
It's going to go like a...
She'll be off like a robber's dog, mate. Look at that. All the oil will fly off there like a beauty. So yeah.
So
well, we were going to just for the hell of it.
Yep.
If you look at that crank, you look at that crank, and you look at that crank. That's the different. That's so it's had a lot of metal off the diameter here. So if you look at that dimension from here to here and there to there, it's considerably less. So the diameter of the bob weight is a lot smaller. And then if you look at from the pin up to here, there's a lot come out, and all this is taken out. So see, this line has all been removed all round to there and there.
Yep.
You know, I don't know when we did these, started doing these, but man, it was a long time ago. And we've done hundreds of them. These days, we've actually got a program for the CNC that does them. So, and a round case and a square case Bosch and a square case 860 and different pins run different weights, different rods like SS rods and GT rods and Dharma rods, run a different diameter. We calculated what diameters we need and how much we need to take off since we use the CNC, and they're we do them a lot faster. But you've still got to finish balance them. And let's just talk about the balancing a little bit. To balance it, you've got to press it up with the pin in it, no rods on it, just looks like that, exactly like that, but the pin is in it. And then you true it, so it runs true, and then you weigh the pistons, the rods, the rings, the gudgeon, everything that goes up and down and around, and you take a percentage of some of it and not of another, and you calculate what they call a bob weight, which is something like this. You calculate a bob weight, which is like that, and then you put the bob weight on the crank pin once you've got the right weight, and then you turn it on here and you balance it just like you would balance a wheel on, your front or rear wheel. And you have this on here and you turn it with the bob weight on it so that it is balanced in every position. That's called static balancing, not dynamic balancing. Dynamic balancing is when you run the crankshaft and at a particular RPM, and it's got strobe lights on it and it tells you that. But dynamic balancing really is important with a long crankshaft because you get dynamic loads and the crank does this. But these, like a single cylinder, and this is close to a single, the width of the thing. I mean, dynamic balancing is not a waste of time, but static balancing is 100% good enough for the RPM these things do, and the fact that the crank is so narrow. So, I mean, professional crank balancers balance all their cranks dynamically. They wouldn't muck around with bob weights and all that shit with the static balance, but I mean, we do because it's pretty well, it is the only crank we do. And I've got a list of each bob weight for each combination, the rod, the type of rollers, the type of piston, the type of rings, and I just look up whichever one they're using. That's the bob weight, put it on, balance it, that's it. So anyway, let's go.
Yeah, okay. Well, thanks for watching. We're going to go to the pub for dinner. Brooks paying, so I'm going to order the most expensive meal. No, I'm not really, but I might have a steak.
You really are from England, aren't you?
Well, my dad was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can tell.
Well, you're a Kiwi. You're an Eastie, as they say.
I think we're from Ireland.
Righto. Well, thanks everyone. Hope you get something out of this. We're going to continue on until we get this bike done. So, yeah, like and subscribe if you like us. Comment. Yeah. I'll endeavour to reply. So, thank you, linesman. Thank you, ball boys.
Thanks.
See you later.
Bye.